While everybody else was trying to learn that Wednesday dance, I was busy focusing on the show's most compelling character, Thing. You know, the severed hand that's constantly getting our hero out of trouble. If you're like me and wondered what it'd be like to play a game from Thing's perspective, then let me introduce you to Super Adventure Hand, a brand new platformer about a hand in search of a stolen arm. That's a fun concept for a game, but is this an emphatic high five or a big thumbs down? That's what we're about to find out when I review Super Adventure Hand by Defunct Games. This is the tragic story of a hand and arm, two friends that are so close that they're literally attached to each other, always going places together. For some reason, this annoys the evil and jealous Feet, who hatch a plan to separate the two friends and kidnap Arm. Now it's up to a former hand model to brave 50 challenging stages in order to rescue the BFF and punish those nasty Feet. While the setup's a little goofy, Super Adventure Hand proves to be more than a competent 3D platformer. We walk, flick, and jump around the stages with the kind of freedom one is afforded when we don't have a big body weighing us down. And much like Thing, the hand can easily walk up walls and make daring jumps that nobody with eyes would ever even think about attempting. In that sense, our hero kinda reminds me a lot of a spider without any of the webbing. They're fast, agile, and practically defy gravity at times. Trust me, you're gonna need that agility if you hope to survive the 50 increasingly difficult stages. This is the kind of game where every level has some sort of platforming challenge. It starts out simple enough with a wall you'll need to climb, a gap you'll need to jump over, and maybe a flame or buzzsaw getting in the way of that hot, delicious cup of coffee at the end of every stage. But rest assured, things get a lot trickier and longer from here. It won't take long before you run into levels where you'll need to complete multiple puzzles in order to open up the exit. Sometimes this means collecting a bunch of keys through harrowing platforming sections, while other times you'll need to connect wires in order to turn on the power in order to get the floating platforms to move. This is the kind of game where they're constantly throwing new obstacles at you, all while using the ones they've already introduced in new and creative ways. We also run into a few inventive ideas that are introduced and then either immediately abandoned or just used sparingly. For example, there's a whole level where you have to don a foot disguise in order to confuse the enemies. This never actually comes into play after this one stage. There are also a couple of times where you'll need to drive a car, which is a lot of fun despite not making a lick of sense. The game flirts with different vehicles and stealth options, but never fully commits. Now, personally speaking, I love these types of platforming puzzles. I always look forward to seeing what they'll throw at us next and how they'll incorporate it with the rest of the obstacles. The more complicated and vexing the level designs are, the more fun I'm having. And this game delivers, especially when it comes to the second half of the adventure. That said, there are definitely a few gameplay decisions that I just didn't care for. For example, you'll spend a surprising amount of time rescuing smaller hands from cages. This isn't necessarily a bad direction to take the story, but I really hated how unpredictable the computer-controlled hands were. They're simply the worst at following the bigger hand around the level, and will sometimes do crazy things like just jump off the level for no reason. I found that there was no way to guide them, so you're just always hoping for the best. As a 3D platformer, I mostly liked the way that Super Adventure Hand played. Our hero is fast and easy to control, and I really like how sticky it is when it comes to dealing with walls and surfaces. You don't have to hold a button to climb, which frees us up to hanging onto keys and other items. Sure, there's an argument to be made that the hand's jumps are a bit floaty and the physics are a little weird, but I'd say that it probably helped more than it hindered, so I'll accept it. The real problem here comes in the form of the camera, which can be unruly at the worst possible times. You'll be holding onto a rope or just needing to make a challenging jump with pinpoint accuracy, Yet that camera will be swinging around wildly, making precision nearly impossible. And do you remember when I mentioned that jumping can feel a bit floaty at times? Well, that's made so much worse with the camera, resulting in a lot of easily preventable deaths. Visually, the game looks good, but is definitely lacking in style. A lot of the levels feel like they were derived from game developers just looking around the office. There are a lot of filing cabinets, plans, and chairs. Every single level is set in the sky, always with an ominous mist below that you definitely don't want to fall into. Worst of all, the hands animation is weird to the point of being a little bit off-putting. Once you notice how unsettling the finger animation is, you won't be able to see anything else. The digits bend and stretch and flap around in extremely unnatural ways, and it's just best you don't look directly at it. Look, weird animations aside, Super Adventure Hand overcomes a lot of these issues by giving us 50 well-crafted platforming stages that are genuinely fun to play. This is a unique concept that gets the fundamentals right, leaving us with a cool genre title that will delight more than it disappoints. That said, I feel like Super Adventure Hand is only scratching the surface of what you can do with the setup. I sure hope we get another Severed Hand game that has a little bit more meat on the bones, if you know what I mean. If you've ever wanted to play a game starring Thing from the Addams Family, then Super Adventure Hand is about as close as you're gonna get. This is a fun and challenging new platformer with a severed hand for a hero and an evil clan of feet coming at you from all sides. While the animation is a bit weird and the camera is unruly at times, fans of this style of platforming puzzles will have a fun time climbing and jumping around the bite-sized stages with reckless abandon. Just don't look directly at what the fingers are doing. Trust me. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What minor TV or movie character deserves to have their own game? I'm talking about a supporting character, just like Thing. You know who deserves to get more attention? Q, from the James Bond series, that's who. Oh, I'd love to play a bitter and angry Q for a day. Always frustrated that 007 is getting all the credit when his gadgets are the ones saving the day. Bring me that game. Alright, let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow with a new episode of Nintendo Switch Online Review Crew. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,